This is Business Decoded podcast with Ronnie Spellman. An informal chats with top business moguls as they share their stories of failure and success in a fun and relaxed way. Get entertained, educated, and unlock the secrets to success.
Welcome to Business Decode It with Ronnie Spellman. I am here with a good friend, Billy Burke. Billy Burke, it is so exciting to have you on the program. He's a business leader, actor, sports coach. You've been a bodyguard, UFC coach, martial arts master. Just learned that you produced a TV show. You're a radio personality. I heard you on the radio in LA. You've done a lot. And as you know, the premise of our program is helping other people do what you've done. How do you build a successful career in business? And you've worked in so many different realms within the industries. UFC is kind of fascinating to me, but you've done great. I am glad to have you here. Welcome.
It's great to be here. I'm excited to be here. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of energy. Get ready for it.
I'm ready for it.
Motivation.
Now, you have a kind of energy that I'm not used to. I'm just a business guy. I've been to your podcast. You have to tell us about your podcast. And that podcast is super energy with a bunch of comedians and personalities. I can't compete.
Well, you know, it's funny. When they asked me to do the podcast, I said, well, I'm very familiar with radio. You know, how am I going to do a podcast? So what I did, it's a throwback to the old morning zoo formats. You know, ding, ding, ding,
right.
woo, woo, woo. In the morning, 7:25, 35 minutes before 8 o'clock, 87 degrees outside. You know, so it's a throwback to that. So that's why we have the energy. Because anybody else doing podcasts of that style, you know, contemporary, newsworthy podcasts and with comedians, it seems to drag a little bit.
Right. That's
so
true.
I decided to add a little bit of radio to it.
Okay. So, and I love what you do in the podcast, but the radio voice is just amazing. You're based in Addison, Texas for your podcast.
Right.
And I went to one of your tapings, even though you have an audience all over the country. And what's with the Addison baby? That stood out for me.
I don't know where it came from. You know, the intro of the show, we say, welcome to Comedy TKO, live from Addison, Texas, you know. The other two partners, TK, the comedian,
right,
owner of the club, and Cameron Smith from iHeartMedia, jazz host. I mean, he's done quite a bit of things also. They just started picking up, screaming, Addison, baby. So we picked up Addison.
You know, it's interesting from a business perspective. It's how do you create visibility for whatever your product is? So coming up with a little tagline or just little mantra. There's so many commercials I have in my head of commercials that I remember. I can't say that I've been to the establishment, but they resonate. So if I ever needed their product, it stands out. And hearing that stands out.
Right, exactly. Nationwide is on your side.
Right.
Yeah.
What's your other big one?
Yeah.
My daughter and I, we sing the O'Reilly song all the time.
Yeah.
And then I think State Farm is another one that we have in our heads.
Yeah. I mean, all of them. Oh, my goodness. What is the windshield replacement company?
Yeah, Safe Light Replace.
Safe Light Replace, Safe Light Repairs. Yeah, all those. I mean, it works.
It does. So, Billy, how did this all start for me? I know there's a story about growing up, and your dad had a major influence. If I remember correctly, you were a military family? Is that right?
I was an Air Force brat. My dad was in the Air Force for 21 years.
Oh, wow.
And we were at Tyndall Air Force Base in Florida, Panama City, Florida.
Okay.
And I was in first grade. And my dad was, I guess, fighting wars, I think. He was in Korea.
Oh, wow.
And then Vietnam.
Okay.
So he wasn't home. My mom is Japanese.
Right.
And at home, we spoke Japanese only. So when I went to first grade, Miss Ferguson, my first grade teacher, Tyndall Air Force Base Elementary School.
Nice.
She was a great teacher. She gave me a chance. But I was labeled retarded, the R word, retarded, slow, because I thought in Japanese and tried to speak in English.
I understand. I hear that a lot.
Yeah, and I had the ability, I thought I did, to speak English,
right,
but it came out as a jumbled mess.
Oh, wow.
So the teacher had recommended me for special education classes, gave me the R word, determined I was retarded, and my dad stood up for me.
It's amazing.
And he said, no, why don't you give the class an aptitude test? So our first grade class took an aptitude test, and I was number one.
Oh, in the class.
Number one at aptitude and attitude. Yeah. So from there, they decided to do a landmark program. Instead of recess, I went to speech therapy.
Okay.
And talked on a microphone into a tape recorder over and over and over. You know, enunciation was a big word I knew in first grade because I had to enunciate.
Right.
Tongue twisters, I had to learn all the limericks and do those. And so it went on for a while. I didn't go to recess. I started speaking like crazy when I was 11 years old.
Nice.
Teachers sent notes home saying I was a chatterbox. I talked too much. So, you know, I never gave up.
Right.
I found it as a challenge.
Right.
I thought I was very special. Right. I got to talk in a microphone and on a tape recorder instead of going to recess.
Oh, wow. You know what? And that's interesting, by the way, the idea that you spoke on a tape recorder and then ended up in the radio business, which is kind of the same premise.
Yeah, I ended up being one of the top 5 radio personalities in America.
Wow. I
mean, I topped out at Z100 in New York City.
In New York City?
Yeah, being number one in market number one is pretty
incredible.
Amazing.
And especially in a big market like that.
Yeah.
And you were in LA as well. You've been in all these big markets.
Yeah, I mean, my radio career started when I was 17.
Okay.
I used to travel to Kerrville, Texas. My hometown was San Antonio.
Right.
Traveled to Kerrville, Texas, drove to Kerrville, was at a radio station, KERV in Kerrville. And it's funny, the guy that hired me, the program director, was a guy named Mortimer, the owner of the station, and the general manager was Captain Gus.
Okay.
See, Mortimer and Captain Gus was a television show in San Antonio for kids.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And it was the Popeye show. You know, remember the Popeye?
I do.
You know?
Popeye the Sailor Man?
Absolutely. Yeah. Enough is enough. Yeah. And the spinach. So I watched that growing up. And so I go to KERV in Kerrville to audition to be on the air. And there's Mortimer, the guy from the TV show, and the general manager, Captain Gus.
Wow.
So they ended up hiring me.
That's cool. So is that where you got your start?
Yeah, I got my start there. And then
at 17?
Yeah, at 17.
Wow.
The program director, one day I was there for a year, and one day I said I wanted to work in San Antonio where I live. And he goes, "You're not good enough to go there."
Okay.
That day I went to San Antonio and got a job. You know, so.
It seems like a lot of good businesses start that way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If someone tells you can't do it and you become so determined to do it that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was on KTSA radio in San Antonio, the number one radio station there.
The number one radio station there as well? Wow.
That I used to listen to as a kid.
Okay.
So I was on KTSA, and one night I got a call on the request line. And somebody said, "Hey, do you want to work for CBS Radio?" I said, "Sure." So he gave me an address.
A call on the request line.
Yeah. So he asked me to send an air check, which is your radio work on tape, to them. I forgot about it. 5 months later, I get a phone call saying, "You want to come to Philadelphia?" So I went from like market 60 to number 4 in one jump. You know, making sub
Incredible.
20 grand a year to 6 figures in one jump.
That is
at the age of 23.
Incredible.
23, yeah.
Wow. Now, hopefully you hadn't become too big. That's a big jump. At 23, that's amazing.
No. Yeah. But what happened is you end up in a small market and you go to a major market.
Right.
And I remember I wanted to make money.
Right.
And I asked the consultant in San Antonio, Texas. His name was Jerry Clifton. I said, "How do I make money?" He goes, "You get heavy." I go, "What is it to get heavy?" He goes, "You become a major market air talent."
Interesting.
So I never gave up. I mean, my roommate and I, we used to listen to, back then it was records, Think and Grow Rich.
Right, yeah.
Who was the guy that did that? Napoleon Hill.
Okay.
We used to listen to Napoleon Hill
every night.
And it actually manifested itself. I wanted to get in the major markets.
Right.
So I just kept thinking positive, working towards that goal.
Right.
And sure enough.
So where'd you go from Philadelphia?
Philadelphia, I was there for 6 years. Went to New York.
A long time in the radio market.
Yeah. Went to New York City.
Okay.
And worked at Hot 103.
Okay.
And from Hot 103, I was at Hot 103 for less than a year. And I got a job offer to come to Y95 in Dallas.
Okay.
And that was a very cool jump. I got to meet a guy, Scott Ginsberg, the owner. Very influential guy in my life. He ended up being the president and CEO of Clear Channel Communications.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, when he got fired from there, he had a $300 million golden parachute.
Right.
So,
Clear Channel was the biggest company in the
it became iHeart.
Radio. Yep,
became iHeart. But I remember Ginsberg, the deal, they flew me in. We met at the Mustang Cafe in Las Colinas.
Okay.
And they did my radio deal on a napkin. A big money radio deal, a 3-year deal.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
On a napkin.
On a napkin.
Now, with those types of deals, what are you looking for when you go to a new market? Are you looking for a specific structure, not necessarily compensation, but a specific investment from a marketing perspective, specific talent, on-air talent, guests that you can bring on? Like, what are you looking for to make that deal work, something that big?
The market, number one, I wanted to be comfortable in the market. You know, they took me around Dallas. I got to see what Dallas was like. The radio station was in Las Colinas in the Texas Commerce Bank building.
Nice.
It was a big pyramid building, which I liked.
Right.
Brand new studios. A program director, Buzz Bennett, who was a legend in radio.
Nice.
So
those program directors make a huge difference.
Oh, big difference. Yeah. I mean, this guy created the Q and the Y format. Back in the day, radio stations used to call letters all the time.
Right.
You know, KMPQ or whatever, KHYI for Y95. He shortened it up to Y95, Q102, Z100. Yeah, so he's the guy that created that format. I didn't realize that. Yeah. So, yeah, Buzz Bennett. So it was incredible. Looking at the market, second, their influence on the marketplace.
Okay.
You know, Y95 had billboards, TV spots. I mean, it was well produced. Looking at the staff I was with, because I did the afternoon show, who was doing mornings, middays.
Right.
Was it cohesive? Was it going to be fun to work there?
Right.
And most thing is fun.
It is. I think in that business, it's interesting. I was thinking of this the other day with a lot of entertainment businesses. I don't know if a lot of people think of it as a business, whether it's looking at a singer like a Taylor Swift or a radio program. It's a business still.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that structure as well. So if someone's looking to get into in fact, I had a good discussion with the guy that purchased a major news paper in Southern California. We had a long conversation around it, but it's definitely a business, right?
Right. Oh, big time, big time. I mean, you listen to a radio show and you go, my gosh, there's so many commercials. Yeah, I think the maximum on my show was like 12 an hour.
Right.
But we could do that because we charged $2,000 a minute for the commercial.
Wow. Okay.
So you do the math, how much I'm making an hour on commercials.
Right.
You know, so we figure, $24,000 an hour?
Right.
I'm on 5 hours.
What's neat is that you all make that part of the entertainment a lot of times, like those commercials.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't feel like you're being marketed at in some cases.
Right.
And what's been your most fun program, show? Is there any? I was listening the other day to the radio, and I think I was talking to my daughter about it, where they get on the air and then they call someone that might be cheating.
Right.
I forget the name of the program, but I was so surprised. Like, they call this person and they pretend to be someone else, right, to see if they're actually cheating. It's fascinating and it's entertaining. It keeps people listening.
Most entertaining program? I don't know. I think my program was predicated on energy.
Okay.
Energy. You know, talking on the intro of a song. It's called posting up.
Okay.
If it had a 47-second intro, I could talk and do my business on 47 seconds, and then I could go, and here's the Eagles, boom, and hit the vocals of the song, you know. At one time, they called me the Postmaster General because I would hit the posts on songs all the time. That was exciting for me. And, of course, the phone calls, the funny bits, the pranks you pull.
Right.
I mean, that's fun.
What's been one of the most interesting pranks, or even callers as well? Anything that stands out from your days?
I think when I was at Kiss FM, pranking Rick Dees.
Okay.
Calling
Rick
him
Dees.
at home.
Rick Dees is a big name.
Yeah, Rick Dees. Yeah,
Rick Dees in the morning.
Yeah, Rick Dees in the morning. I was on after him for 3 years, calling him, waking him up,
Okay.
telling him he was late for his shift, and then putting on there. But one of the funniest things, okay, I'm at Z100 New York City, doing the, I think, was it the afternoon show, midday show? But the guy on after me, Kid Kelly, and I were listening to, what's his name? The nighttime guy,
Yes.
Adam, who was on MTV all the time.
Okay.
And he had just hosted Fox's New Year's Eve special.
Right.
Adam Curry.
Right.
Adam Curry. So he left his reel-to-reel tape in the studio of him answering phone calls, going, hey, did you watch me on Fox TV for the New Year's Eve show? And they would go, no, I didn't see it. And he'd go, answer another phone call. Hey, did you see me on Fox TV? Did you see me the New Year's Eve show? No. So there was 5 minutes of that. So we aired it.
Oh, wow.
We put him on the air, upset that nobody watched him on the TV show.
That's hilarious.
Oh, man, we got hotlined immediately by the boss because Adam Curry was the guy. He was on MTV. He was the radio god back then. He had married, he's from Switzerland. He had married the equivalent of Madonna in Switzerland.
Oh, wow.
He drove his Rolls Royce to work every day. And here we ran his outtakes on the air. That was funny.
So what happened? They called you and said, stop.
Oh, we got yelled at for 5 minutes, and then the boss laughed. He goes, that's one of the funniest things I've ever heard. But, you know, he had to yell at us.
You know, it's neat being clever, you know, in the entertainment industry. And that cleverness is what a lot of business people do in their industry is innovation.
Right.
Right. And so that was definitely very clever.
Yeah.
Did you do anything similar to that, or was that days of being innovative, clever over it?
Every day you had to think of something to do or whatever. It makes it an interesting life because every day is a show.
Now, in radio, when did you feel like you had arrived? I know you had the big markets, Philadelphia and New York, but when did you feel like you're really good at what you do?
Gosh, when Radio and Records magazine listed the top afternoon drive personalities in America,
Okay.
and I got listed in, you know, the top 3.
Oh, wow.
I
In
had
the entire country. I know you mentioned that earlier, but top
I
3
had
in the
a
entire
quarter
country.
hour cumulative rating. That's how many people listen every 15 minutes
Sure.
of over 850,000 every 15 minutes. And then another thing was doing the afternoon show at KZLA in Los Angeles, which was a country station in L.A.
Nice.
I ended up being the #1 afternoon drive host in Los Angeles,
In the country station.
playing country music.
Oh, wow.
And in fact, I was the most listened to country radio show in America.
Wow.
And they had the sweepers on my show. I think that was one of the big highs of hearing the guy saying the most listened to country radio show in America. So yeah, that was exciting.
So you've done country radio, R&B,
Top 40, dance.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you've covered the entire spectrum. It's amazing that someone can go between those different segments and be good at it.
You know
Like,
what? Music is music.
It is.
It makes you feel. You enjoy it. You know, R&B and country are very similar.
Right.
In that, you know, R&B, your heart and soul. Country, your heart and soul.
Right.
Trailer, dog, cat, beer. But it's all very, very similar. The listeners are very voracious. R&B, they love it. Country, they'll love it.
Yeah.
You know,
that's true.
it's just very good. I've been very fortunate that, you know, I've had a very eclectic career, and that I set myself to do anything I wanted to do, and I did.
Right.
You know, I mean, I look at the list of things I've done. I've been a martial artist, radio talent, actor, stuntman, producer, bodyguard, executive protection for the royal family of Saudi Arabia.
Oh, wow.
Podcast producer, engineer, writer, editor, host, you know, and actually a producer.
It's amazing.
And I think one of the best successes I ever had as in business was being a television producer.
Okay.
I teamed up with John Scheinberg, big name in Hollywood. Big name in Hollywood. Look him up, John Scheinberg, The Bubble Factory. He discovered Wesley Snipes, did Passenger 57.
Really?
He did Flipper, McHale's Navy. I mean, he did some big ones too. And he also has The Machine, which does documentaries and kind of heavier movies. But teamed up with John Scheinberg and a group out of, I think, Nashville. And they wanted to do a show called Racing for a Living, a reality show where you get racers teaching like 10 people how to become race car drivers.
Oh.
We had the track, we had the cars, we had everything going. We had a pitch meeting at 3 different major television networks.
Right. First
pitch meeting we went to, I believe it was NBC Sports. They greenlit the show.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And $90 million for a TV show.
$90 million?
Yeah. Wow. They said, let's do it. So here's what happened. JT, the guy that basically created the show, was a fanatic.
Okay.
He called NBC Sports every day, 2-3 times a day, every day. And they finally called us and said, we can't do it. This guy's a maniac. He's making us crazy.
Oh, no.
So the exciting part, we got greenlit for $90 million. Got to do a pitch meeting, you know, with the Hollywood guy, John Scheinberg.
That's a huge deal.
And myself. It was the energy, the excitement, you know, the PowerPoint and me standing up, yelling and screaming and jumping up and down. And they were fascinated because their normal pitch meetings were not like that. I didn't know. You know, Scheinberg kept looking at me, kicked me under the table at one time. But that was something incredible.
Yeah, I had a chance. I worked at a company that partnered with a project that Rob Reiner was heading up, and meeting a lot of those entertainer guys is pretty neat. Just to listen to them and how they operate and how they think creatively, it's really cool. Have you had a chance? So you were in the same media market as Ron Seacrest. Did you ever have a chance to meet Ron Seacrest?
Yes.
Did you? Okay.
I was there when he replaced Rick Dees.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't, you know, I don't think I realized that he replaced Rick Dees. He's replaced a lot of big names, America Top 40, which we listen to all the time. That was a big deal. He's getting ready to place the host of Wheel of Fortune.
Yep.
He was on the morning show with what was his co-host? Ellen
K.
Kelly.
It was Ellen K. and Ryan Seacrest for a while. Ryan's a really nice guy.
Is he?
It's an interesting start on how he got to KISS FM in L.A.
Okay.
I can't discuss it. But he was in Atlanta doing radio and had a very good friend, Merv Griffin.
Really? No, that's a very, very good friend.
Yeah, and Merv would fly him out to hang out.
Okay.
And eventually Ryan stuck. Very, very good talent. Very, very nice guy.
Right.
Where was I? I think I was at Morton's Steakhouse in Hollywood.
Right.
Having a birthday dinner. He came by and said hello, and he paid the tab. Paid for the whole dinner.
That's cool.
Ryan. So
now, I think back to when he began on American Idol. Mm-hmm. There were 2. Brian Dunkelman, I think, was the other co-host there, and Ryan ended up surviving.
Ryan was
the first
prettier.
year.
He looked better. He was more polished.
Yeah.
He was made for that. He really was.
Great. What a great opportunity for him. And just to watch his career over the past several decades now.
What a businessman. He was really good friends with Dick Clark.
Okay.
And he took over Dick Clark Productions.
He did.
So, he saw an opportunity and pounced on it.
Right.
He's one of the really, really good business people in radio.
Right.
As was Rick Dees.
Right.
Rick Dees became one of the first multimillionaires doing radio.
Interesting.
And he diversified, He invested in golf clubs. He had a breath product. Remember that product you would take? You would take a capsule and it'd go in your stomach and give you good breath.
Okay.
Yeah, I forget the name of it.
That.
Breath something.
Okay.
But his name was on every little plastic container of it. Rigdon Dees.
I love it.
Yeah.
No, and so I have to definitely have you back on the show, and I want to talk more on the next program about your work in UFC, how you got there. But tell me about the royal family of Saudi Arabia. That is an interesting transition career-wise for you.
Well, having been a lifelong martial artist,
right,
gun enthusiast, I shoot well. Having known quite a few people that were in the bodyguard business and worked at the State Department.
Okay.
They said, hey, why don't you come out and do this? And so I guarded, back then it was Royal Prince Mohammed, his wife Sarah, his son Mohammed, and daughter Sarah.
That is
similar
amazing.
names. And ended up guarding them. They liked me out of all the other executive protection people.
Okay.
So I walked with them everywhere, took care of them. Interesting, we went to a sushi place in Beverly Hills, and they rang up a $10,000 tab, and Saudis don't tip.
Right.
So here I am, the bodyguard, having to explain to the owner of the restaurant that he shouldn't have put the tip on the tab because they were having a fit.
Oh, okay.
And it got to a point where I went, I'm not representing them or you. I'm just protecting them.
Right.
So, yeah, it was a very interesting job. I mean, every morning we had to go to the safe house in Hollywood.
Okay.
And have a meeting with State Department officials, find out what security level was for the day, have a weapons check, find out what the itinerary was, know where the safe house was closest to the itinerary, whether we're shopping for jewelry at Tiffany's or going to dinner someplace, and go over the route together. It was really, really interesting. Scary.
So did you do that kind of work as well at the same time as being on the radio?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same period of time. That's amazing. So you were balancing both.
Yeah.
In your career, just building your empire.
Yeah. It was something I wanted to do, and they paid cash really well daily.
Right.
You know, so I would work with the Saudis probably in late at night till 4 or 5 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
And then come back and do my afternoon show.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So bodyguard at night, radio entertainer during the day.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this program, you have to have a few quick speed questions for you. Favorite music artist? Do you have any favorites? You've crossed a lot of genres, but favorite music artist, either then or now?
That's tough. That's very tough.
You probably have a lot.
Yeah, I have a lot.
You
Marvin Gaye. I go back to Marvin Gaye, the classics. Okay. Denise Williams.
Okay, let's hear for the boys.
You know what? I was singing that to myself in the car today. Let's hear it for the boys. Yeah, I was singing that to myself on
My
the
daughter
way.
has no idea who that is, right?
And her nickname was Niecy Williams. She was related to Whitney Houston, the whole Whitney Houston clan. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
She has a lot of singers in her family, Whitney Houston.
Oh, yeah.
And Dionne
Thelma
Warwick,
Houston,
I think.
Dionne Warwick, yeah.
That's amazing. Favorite guest?
Favorite guest?
Yeah, on any of your programs.
Darren Carter.
Okay.
Darren Carter, the party starter.
Okay.
I think you were there when we recorded the show.
Yeah. Yes.
You can call me Darren, or the ladies call me Darren. Yeah. He was funny, the human beatbox. Very, very. But in radio, favorite guests? Probably 2 I can think of. Lionel Richie.
Okay.
I was in Philadelphia. He brought his keyboard on the air and sang.
Wow.
He did
really Lionel Richie did
2 hours with me.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then another one was Tim McGraw, country singer. We were broadcasting live from the House of Blues in Hollywood, and we were doing his album release party. And I remember my boss saying, "Well, Tim McGraw's a really big talent. He might not come and do your interview." He hung out with me for 3 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, we did do shots of tequila at the bar, but he was on the air with me. And he was very gracious, very, very wonderful guy.
And were you surprised to see Lionel Richie on American Idol?
No.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that he
fit.
still looks like Lionel Richie.
He does.
And
he did well on the program. It's,
very, very good.
Now, what would be your next favorite job? You just had me thinking, would you want to be a judge on American Idol? Is that
Nah.
No?
Nah.
It seemed like a great gig for someone in entertainment.
I want to follow my passion. There's a couple of things to do.
Okay.
Do an online 24-hour radio station.
Okay.
Billy Burke Radio. Working on that right now.
Right.
And then create a martial arts gym just for youth.
Sure.
And, help develop them confidence, discipline, general knowledge on how to do things in the world.
Right.
Now,
that's interesting. I've been speaking a lot to people about their legacy. Like I'm at that age now where I think about that a lot, and that sounds like one. But what I'd love to do is to bring you back on the show, because I want to hear your 5 tips, your 5 Business Decode It tips for business leaders. And I'd love to talk more about your martial arts for youth program. So we're definitely going to have you back so that we can discuss those items as well. Favorite sports movie? Do you have a favorite sports movie?
Draft Day I loved.
Okay.
The new Longest Yard.
Yeah, that's a good
I like
movie.
that. And what was it? The Longest Drive?
Good movie. I can tell you one of my favorites, Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire.
One of my favorites.
Love that.
I quote it periodically.
Show me the money.
Show me the money.
Yeah.
Billy, it's been wonderful having you on our program. You and I have been speaking about this for a few weeks, and you're just a really special, unique talent, a great business mind as well. I know, as I mentioned, a lot of people don't think about entertainment as just business. They might hear you as a voice on the radio, but wonderful, incredible business mind and what you've done. And can't wait to have you back on so we can talk more business next time.
Can't wait.
Billy, thank you for joining us at Business Decode It with Ronnie Spellman.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Business Decoded podcast with Ronnie Spellman. Please be sure to subscribe and share, and stay tuned for more incredible Business Decoded episodes.